Hello and welcome to Rule of Three's video review for Lost Planet 3, a third-person sci-fi shooter from Capcom. With me today are our usual people, Synyster Dreamer, how you doing today?
Doing well.
And Impressions, how you doing, buddy?
Doing all right.
Alright, so let's get straight into this. So since Lost Planet is the third in the franchise, I always like kind of giving a history of which ones we've played. Me personally, I played the first one when it first came out, and I played a little bit of two, not a whole lot. I liked one, but it was kind of disappointing because I was expecting a little bit more from it because it is mechs, and I tend to like mechs. And then two, I thought was terrible. That's my opinion. Sinister.
I played a little bit of one, really didn't get into it too much because after a while of having to try to run from point A to point B, trying to, survive because of the cold, it just kind of got daunting. Two, it was like a down point. It's like, okay, great.
Impression.
It's another game.
Impressions?
You didn't put enough emphasis.
Emphasis.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, go. Sorry.
Anyways, I did play all of them. I beat, or one and two rather. I beat both of them, and I actually really enjoyed them. I don't know what's wrong with you two, but I actually thought it was a pretty strong release game as far as PS3 was concerned. And yeah, I mean, you got a little redundant at points, but then again, it was a release game. What do you expect? They did refine it by the time Lost Planet 2 came around, and I liked that even more. It was more co-op based, especially during the campaign, and I was able to play it with two other friends, and it was fun. I really enjoyed it.
All right. Well, we have three of us on the show, so we can get these kind of differences. So anyway, the story of Lost Planet 3 is actually a prequel to the first game. It takes place, I believe, 50 years prior. And you are Jim Payton, a mechanic, construction worker guy who needs work, so he joins Nevik, who is on the planet EDN3, mining minerals and thermal energy for energy. And
Side note, this is a prequel.
Yeah, I said that.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. This is
Right
before
on.
the first one. Anyway, and it's basically, how, first of all, how Nevik became the villains of the first one. Kind of a spoiler, but if you played one, you already know that. And two, kind of like just how everything kind of started out, and just kind of a nice little, I guess, backstory onto why everything's the way it is by the time you get to Lost Planet 1. In terms of story, I actually liked it. I actually liked the story in this one. I thought it was a really well. I thought Jim was a very good protagonist. I liked seeing the overall arc of his character, and also to see how everything got to where it was in one was kind of cool.
Yeah, the overall story, even for the little bit of what I played, was like, it was actually kind of nice. I was like, oh, this is kind of a nice actual prequel story, and everything flows, and like you said, Jim's personality and everything just kind of, it's a real nice change, and especially kind of how Jim is like, he's just there for the job, and, he's kind of like, with everybody in the crew, but as you start playing, it's like, he kind of warms up to everybody.
Impressions.
Yeah, as we all know, Capcom games are very hit and miss as far as their stories are concerned, and that was the case with one and two. One, I mean, I didn't really care. I don't remember anything about that story, and it obviously didn't stick with me. Two kind of like gave up on the whole story thing and just decided to make an immersive campaign where you could play with other people. So there was less focus on the story and more on the team play. This time around with three, I feel like they finally found like a pretty good balance between the two, where they gave it a compelling enough character and story, such that it actually it drove itself well enough. And I think, I guess out of all of them, they would have the best story. So it was engaging, worth playing, definitely based on the story, which is unusual. I wasn't expecting much of a story going into this game.
Alright, so let's get into gameplay. So gameplay is a typical third-person shooter. You get guns and you shoot things. In terms of the mechanics, you got cover and grenades and all that other fun stuff. And I don't know, it worked, but it felt a little clunky at times. Especially with different, like, certain guns. I just felt it was a little clunkier than some. And cover kind of was hit and miss every now and then. I don't know about you guys.
Cover was very clunky.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, cover was very, very clunky, because it was just like, I tried to go into cover, and he'd go into cover, but if I tapped it just slightly too hard, he'd go into cover and, come back out of cover. It's like, no, I want you in cover. Otherwise, everything else game mechanic wise, it worked. The guns, yeah, a little bit. Not as much, but I could get over that.
Impressions?
All right. Well, 2 points. If I recall correctly, there was no cover system in the first two.
Yeah, this is the first time that I do it.
Yeah. So whether or not that's a step up or down, I don't know. Honestly, I think cover systems are becoming a little bit, too much of an industry standard. Like they feel like that's the way to go at all times. And this game, it works, but it never really needed one, in my opinion. It gave it that, not stealth, but it gave it that cover mechanic component that I felt it really didn't need. So that's more depending on your taste. Second point. Again, this game differs from the first two, where R3 and whatnot actually control, or R3, the right analog stick actually controls the camera a little more, and as opposed to in the previous ones, you actually use the shoulder buttons to turn, if I'm recalling correctly.
I know that's how it was in one. So.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that's how it was in two, at least for a good portion of two. So I think this is actually a good move. It was a good development as far as how the controls are concerned. So it's definitely, I think, the refinement of the previous installments. So it's good. They landed on the good end of it this time.
Okay, so the next one I want to go into is the mech. In the previous ones, all the mechs had guns and awesomeness. In this one, it's a prequel, and it's before the mechs were militarized, so instead it's more of a working thing, and they're called rigs, and it has a drill and a claw. Now, initially I was kind of disappointed when I found this out, because I loved the mechs in the first, at least in the first one and the second, like just how they worked. I thought they were great. So when I was playing this one, I was kind of like, oh man. And then as the game went on, I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever, and it was really brutal with the drill. It was awesome. In terms of the gameplay with it, once again, it felt a little clunky, and some of the like punches and stuff I don't know, were kind of off a little bit. But once again, I like it, but it just felt clunky again. I don't know. That's just how I feel when I was playing it. Synyster.
I summed it up with it's a mech. It's gonna be clunky because you can't smooth out a mech movement because they're a big thing that has all these gears and everything. It's not a human being. So the whole clunkiness, I just kind of like overcame it with, oh, okay, so well, timing wise, everything, boom, done. It just kind of flowed once I figured out, oh, mech, clunky, done. The drill was kind of nice, fun, just, grabs, a monster and just punch and drill it, or you could just squeeze it and it explodes.
Yeah, that was fun.
Otherwise, it was like, I didn't mind rigs not having weapons.
Impressions?
Yeah, well, even then, I mean, okay, clunky because it's a mech. Yes, I agree with that point. But also because it's bigger. They're significantly bigger than the majority of the mechs that you get in 1 and 2. And honestly, I do feel that it kind of lost out on the whole mech experience not having as many weapons. I get it. It works. It's for the purposes of the narrative. It makes sense. But I don't know. They could have found another way to at least introduce more weapons into that. But I'll live. It's definitely a lower. It's one of the things I didn't like as much about the game, having played all 3. But again, for the purposes of the story, it's appropriate.
Yep. All right. So the next thing is upgrades and
Also, just one other thing. It's also in first person.
First person mode.
That's completely different, by the way. So just to be out there.
I forgot to mention that you are in first person in the mech.
All right, go on. Anyway,
so the next thing I want to get into is the guns and upgrades. In previous ones, you had to collect thermal energy to live. This one, you collect thermal energy to buy stuff. The gun upgrade system is you just go to the shop, buy, and upgrade your guns that way. It's very simple. I do like having thermal energy tied to that more than health, which was annoying in the first 2, in my opinion. So I thought it was a nice little system. It worked. Once again, it worked, but it's simple and easy to get a hang of. So, but it's
It's a prequel.
Yeah.
Everything about what you're used to is for this game is because it's a prequel. So we're setting up for what 1 and 2 are.
Right, but the thermal energy part, I mean that made sense in the first 2 that had to live. You're on an ice planet.
Yeah.
I just like how they didn't tie that into health this time, or have like you can only be on the cold for this long because you have only, or depending on how much energy you have.
Kind of figured it basically was while I was playing was okay. You're not dealing. Collecting T energy because you're trying to figure out is it enough to use for sustained energy and whatnot. And they hadn't figured out that you're on an ice planet. You might freeze if you're outside too long. They're just like, hey, we have these suits that can help. By the time you're done with the game, and you're on to 1 and 2, and there you go.
All right, impressions.
Yeah, I'm kind of both. I have mixed feelings as far as the thermal energy being used as such. The way it worked in 1 and 2, like you said, it powered your mechs and it powered your abilities, and it was pretty much you needed it to survive. And I felt that was pretty definitive as far as the Lost Planet experience was concerned. And maybe that's why it wasn't such a popular game. Maybe it wasn't a popular mechanic. That's why they did away with it. I can understand that. So they went for a more standard route of using it as a money system for the most part, and it did work to that to that extent. So whatever, it's hardly. I mean, I'm not going to harp on that particular factor, but at least this time around, you could actually have some control about buying your weapons as opposed to kind of leveling and just cheesing points so that you can raffle through them in like in 2. You know what I mean? If any of you recall that system.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So it's like an improvement as far as weapon system is concerned, but a step down as far as I feel as far as using it in game as a survival element.
Okay, and I just want to quickly touch on 2 things, just very, very quickly. Enemy AI, I just want to get you guys' opinion. I thought it was dumb as heck. I thought the enemies were stupid and made this game a little too easy. Synyster.
Agreed.
Impressions.
Agreed. I don't know what it was. I was like, I don't remember these guys being so stupid.
Yeah, the enemies in this game were retarded. Literally, you could face this game and still win.
They're like there's a bunch of lemmings that run at you.
Yeah,
pretty much. It's like, hey,
it's almost a rail shooter. It's like almost like a third-person rail shooter.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, that's how. Anyway, and the last thing is multiplayer. Do you guys play any matches?
Nope.
I didn't want to until I got a better feel for it.
Okay, well,
I never got around to it.
Okay, well, I played 2 matches, and the multiplayer, while it's very, very typical, and it plays exactly like single player, so if you don't like the mechanics from the single player, you don't play multiplayer. The multiplayer was kind of interesting because, like, the first one I did was a co-op map. It was, collect so much supplies before time runs out. And then about halfway through, it's like, things have changed. Deathmatch. And you had to kill everybody to get the material so you would live. And then it switched again to, like, a King of the Hill thing. Like, this area has all the equipment. Make sure you're on top. And, like, what's going on? So it kept changing things up. I actually kind of like that.
That's
kept things
cool.
kind of chaotic.
Okay, that's innovative, so to speak.
Yeah. Like I said, the mechanics were still kind of iffy and kind of clunky in my opinion, but like I like the idea of just switching up the objective every so often, just to kind of throw a wrench in everybody's gameplay. Yeah. So anyway, that's it for this one. So let's get into our ratings. Here at Rule of 3, we do not use a point number system because I don't feel like it. Instead, we use a buy, rent, pass system. A buy means we think it's worth the full price of the game. The developers did a really good job. It's that fun. There's enough replay value or enjoyment out of it. That warrants the 60, 50, 40, whatever the price of it is on release is, and you should go play this game. A rent is twofold. It means the game, the game's fun. It was okay. Maybe not the greatest. It's maybe worth a playthrough if it looks interesting to you. Rent it from GameFly or wait for it to go on sale or buy a used copy or something. But it's not quite to that. It deserves full price at. That's what the rent category is, and pass means it needs to be shipped to a lost planet, and that planet needs to never be found. The game is just that bad. I'll start off with this one. I give Lost Planet a rent. The story I thought was great. Like I said, the game was average, but I thought the story kind of held everything together, and I thought it was really coherent and kind of made the game worth playing. Synyster.
I give it a rent. The story was good. A few minor little tweaks with the gameplay could make it a little better, but overall, if you just want to play Lost Planet to kind of continue figuring out story and what's going on, run it, play it, send it back.
Right. Impressions?
Yeah, I would also say rent, not more on the buy cheaper kind of side of things, because I am a fan of the series, and sort of the opposite of what you two say. You said that the story holds it together, makes you kind of It lets you be able to deal with the gameplay. Yeah, actually, I do agree with that rather. The problem is that for me, I do like the way the gameplay was in 1 and 2, and I think they deviated from that a little too much. Again, because of the story. So, I mean, it's still a good game, but it's not quite the same Lost Planet feel that I know and love.
All right.
So, yep.
All right, so they have 3 rents from us. That's it for this one. Make sure to leave a comment below for entries into our Batman Arkham Origins giveaway. Subscribe up top. Like us on Facebook, Twitter. Check out rule3.com for the written reviews. Next week is Rayman Origins, hopefully. We're having some mail issues with that one at the moment from getting it, so hopefully we get it in time. If not, I'll try to make a filler one real quick. So, yeah, thanks for listening, everybody, and always remember to trust in the rule of 3.